A quiet, brisk morning in a wealthy Atlanta suburb.
A 27-year-old man runs out of his front door, leaving his phone sitting behind.
A frantic search begins, but this wasn't just anyone. This was the heir to a hip-hop dynasty.
Welcome to Starscope Report.
Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into the tragic story behind the viral headline, Why Lil Jon's Son Never Came Home.
And to do this properly, we're pulling from a really comprehensive stack of verified sources. We have the official incident reports from the Milton, Georgia Police Department.
Right.
We also have the finalized forensic and toxicological findings from the Fulton County Medical Examiner, along with those deeply heartfelt public statements from his family.
Our mission today is to go way beyond the sensational internet rumors, We want to explore the real facts of the investigation, the actual science behind what happened,
And honestly, the incredible, often overlooked musical legacy of Nathan Smith.
Exactly. Because I want you to imagine, just for a moment, the immense pressure of carving out your own unique identity. When your father is a globally recognized music icon, you are born into this massive, looming shadow.
Yeah, every move you make is watched. It's judged and weighed against a legacy you had no part in creating.
And today, we're exploring the loss of a young man who actually navigated that exact pressure successfully, only to have his life cut devastatingly short.
It really is a heartbreaking timeline. And it begins on a quiet, brisk morning in a wealthy Atlanta suburb.
Right, it's about 6 a.m.
Yeah, 6 a.m. on February 3rd, 2026. Nathan Smith leaves his home on Baldwin Drive, stepping out into the chill of the early dawn.
But what immediately elevates this, what takes it from just a simple case of someone going for an early walk to a severe emergency is what he left behind.
His phone.
Exactly. Resting silently inside his house was his cell phone. And, think about your own life for a second. In our current hyper-connected era, our entire lives, our businesses, our social safety nets, they're all in our pockets.
Oh, absolutely. When a 27-year-old music producer leaves his house without his device, it is an immediate, glaring alarm bell.
It's what investigators refer to as a severed digital tether, right?
Yes. In modern missing persons cases, a smartphone is the primary investigative tool. It provides GPS coordinates, cell tower pings, digital footprints, communication logs.
It's basically the breadcrumb trail.
Exactly. Law enforcement relies heavily on that data to establish a radius within the first crucial hours of a disappearance. And Nathan was a millennial whose entire professional life revolves around constant digital connectivity.
From mixing tracks to communicating with touring artists.
Right. So leaving that tether behind signaled to the Milton Police Department that they were dealing with a severe behavioral anomaly.
And that was heavily corroborated by the initial reports from his family. They stated that before he left, Nathan appeared profoundly disoriented.
He was in need of immediate assistance.
So when you have a young man running out into the neighborhood in a compromised mental state, the response has to be overwhelming, and it has to be immediate.
And it was. The Milton Police Department launched a massive interagency search effort that lasted for 3 grueling days.
The logistics of a search like that in suburban Georgia are incredibly complex.
They really are. You had News Chopper 2 circling the airspace to provide thermal imaging. You had specialized K-9 units brought in to meticulously sweep through the dense, damp woods.
Which, tracking a scent in a wooded suburban area has to be difficult.
It's incredibly difficult. You have the morning dew, you have shifting winds, and when a scent plume hits the concrete terrain of a suburb, it can easily break.
It just scatters.
Right. So as the hours ticked by and the ground teams scoured every inch of the terrain along Mayfield Road, the search perimeter naturally had to expand into the more hazardous geographical features of the community.
And by February 6th, the operation zeroed in on Mayfield Park,
which is situated very close to the Smith family residence. And this park, like a lot of affluent suburban developments, contains several retention ponds.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how dangerous these actually are.
Oh, they are massive engineering hazards. They aren't natural lakes with nice, gently sloping beaches.
Right, they're built strictly for stormwater management.
Exactly. They are basically deep clay bowls designed to catch chemical runoff and stop the neighborhood from flooding. Because municipal codes require them to hold a specific volume of water within a limited footprint of land, their embankments are incredibly steep.
We are talking about slick, muddy drop-offs that offer absolutely no traction.
And that geometry is precisely what makes them lethal. If an individual is experiencing disorientation, A retention pond is a high-risk environment. The steep grading and the soft, collapsing clay at the water's edge mean that once you slip in, it is mechanically incredible.
It really is. To understand the profound loss here, we have to look at the immense high-pressure career he had built. He wasn't just a celebrity's child coasting on a famous name.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He fundamentally bypassed that modern Nepo baby trope through sheer academic and technical rigor.
Operating under the stage name DJ Young Slade.
Right. Nathan was a classically trained, highly sought-after industry secret weapon. I mean, his immersion into the mechanics of the music industry began in his toddler years.
His very first professional credit came at the age of 2.
Age 2. He provided the vocal hook on the massive year 2000 club anthem, Baya Baya, by Lil Jon and the East Side Boys.
So he was surrounded by mixing boards, sound booths, and vocal arrangements from the moment he could form sentences.
But the real turning point for his own independent ambition came in 2008. He was 10 years old, watching his dad DJ an after-party for the Trans World Skateboarding Awards.
And seeing his father completely control the energy and the emotional pulse of that room, it sparked a fire in him.
But rather than asking for a handout, or, a quick record deal, Nathan insisted on learning the foundational physics of the craft. He enrolled in the Scratch DJ Academy.
Wow.
Yeah, he immersed himself in the tactile, highly technical world of vinyl scratching, beat matching, and phrasing. And he graduated from that academy at just 13 years old.
Graduating from a technical academy at 13 requires an intense level of discipline.
It proves he was doing the hard academic work to legitimize his talent in an industry that is notoriously skeptical of celebrity children.
And that relentless work ethic paid off incredibly early. At 14 years old, he secured a major professional milestone.
He became the official touring DJ for Zendaya.
Which is huge. At the time, she was a massive rising star on the Disney Channel.
Putting a 14-year-old behind the turntables for an arena and theater tour is a massive logistical risk. But Nathan delivered. Touring at that age is a masterclass in crowd control, adapting to different venue acoustics, and just handling the grueling pace of life on the road.
And he later admitted in interviews that he was naturally a very shy kid. Taking on a high-visibility touring role was the catalyst that forced him to break out of his shell.
It helped him develop a really commanding stage persona. He went on to hold a weekly Saturday residency at Club DV8 in Los Angeles.
Which requires keeping a crowded dance floor engaged for hours on end.
Exactly. But he still wasn't satisfied with just practical experience. He took his academic pursuits to the absolute highest level by enrolling in New York University's prestigious Clive Davis Institute of Recorded Music.
Graduating in 2020.
Right. And the curriculum at the Clive Davis Institute goes far beyond basic beat making. Students there study psychoacoustics, the science of signal flow, analog versus digital recording techniques, and the complex business structures of the music industry.
He became a true scholar of sound.
He really did. And upon graduating, he entered a rigorous, trial-by-fire professional environment by becoming his father's primary audio engineer.
And the studio dynamic between them was intense. Lil Jon has publicly described Nathan as a brilliant, incredibly fast worker who didn't need his hand held through complex software settings or audio leveling.
But Nathan also noted that his father was a highly demanding mentor. He was often pushing him to his limits, screaming for the next take, providing completely unfiltered, critical feedback.
It was a crucible of high expectations, but together they created incredible art. Nathan engineered the Yin Yang Twins' 2020 track Twerkin' in the Mirror and worked extensively on Ice Cube's 2024 album Man Down.
Perhaps most impressively, he was instrumental in producing Lil Jon's 2024 ambient meditation album, Total Meditation.
Which highlights the depth of Nathan's technical range.
It really does. Producing a crunk hip-hop track is about maximizing bass frequencies and creating hype. Producing an ambient meditation album requires a completely different, delicate understanding of frequency manipulation.
You have to induce physiological calm in the listener.
Exactly. He had to master both ends of the sonic spectrum. He was also carving out his own solo identity, releasing a track called Feels in March 2025. It was featured on the HBO series Insecure and in commercial spots for Beats headphones.
He was even recently featured on MTV's docuseries Family Legacy, where he spoke so eloquently about the pride of inheriting the musical torch, but the heavy responsibility of making it his own.
If you're loving these deep dives into the untold stories of the music industry, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
He had his whole life mapped out, but all of that potential came to a devastating halt on that chilly February morning. Coming up, the medical examiner finally releases the tragic truth of what went wrong.
And this is where the clinical facts finally replace the internet speculation. On February 27th, 2026, the Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office released their finalized autopsy and toxicology report.
The official clinical cause of death was ruled as drowning in the setting of psilocybin use.
The introduction of psilocybin, commonly known as magic mushrooms, completely recontextualizes the timeline of his disappearance. To understand his final moments, we really have to look closely at the pharmacology of this substance.
Because it's not just a simple intoxicant.
No, not at all. Psilocybin is a naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in over 100 species of fungi. When ingested, the human body metabolizes the psilocybin into a highly active compound called psilocin.
And psilocin crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Exactly. It crosses the barrier and binds directly to the 5-HT2A serotonin receptors,
When those receptors are activated, it fundamentally disrupts the brain's default mode network.
which leads to profound alterations in how the brain processes reality. It changes visual and auditory perception, distorts the passage of time, and most crucially in this case, severely impairs spatial awareness and cognitive judgment.
This biochemical reaction perfectly aligns with the severe disorientation that his family witnessed before he left the house.
In a hallucinogenic state, a person can completely lose their tether to reality. A familiar, quiet suburban neighborhood can suddenly appear as an alien, unnavigable landscape.
Depth perception is heavily compromised.
Right, meaning a person in this state would not be able to accurately perceive the dangerous, steep, and slippery embankments of a retention pond until it was too late.
And the physical evidence detailed in the medical examiner's report paints a heartbreakingly clear picture that corroborates this sequence of events.
It really does. The autopsy noted specific physiological markers, such as water immersion wrinkling.
Which in forensic pathology is referred to as skin maceration.
Right, and the degree of skin maceration helps forensic pathologists establish a timeline for how long a body has been submerged. But more importantly, the medical examiner noted a complete absence of defensive wounds, blunt force trauma, or signs of a physical struggle.
Synthesizing the toxicology report with these physical findings confirms the tragic reality of that morning. Nathan entered the water alive and alone.
There was no foul play. He simply became trapped in an engineered hazard that his chemically impaired brain could not figure out how to navigate.
And he was unable to pull himself up the slick clay banks.
It's devastating. And when the clinical finality of that report was released, it forced the family to relive the trauma all over again in the public eye.
But Lil Jon's subsequent statements to the press were a masterclass in vulnerability and grace under unimaginable pain. He didn't focus on the toxicology. He focused on the soul of his son.
He called Nathan the kindest human being you would ever meet. He described a young man who was immensely caring, thoughtful, polite, and passionately warm-hearted.
The only shred of solace Lil Jon seemed to find was in the fact that their final days together were filled with mutual expressions of deep love. They left absolutely nothing unsaid.
That profound familial bond and their spiritual grounding were deeply reflected in how they laid Nathan to rest. The public was given a window into their grieving process when Lil Jon shared that the burial took place on February 18th.
In the Islamic calendar for the year 2026, February 18th coincided with the very first day of the holy month of Ramadan.
Ramadan is a period of intense fasting, but more importantly, it is a time of heightened spiritual reflection, mercy, and communal prayer.
To bury a loved one at the onset of the sacred month carries immense spiritual weight.
It signifies a return to the Creator during a time of ultimate grace.
And the vocabulary Lil Jon used to share this news was a beautiful reflection of his faith. He didn't use standard PR statements. He used traditional Islamic phrasing, directly asking his community for extra dua,
which translates to supplication or prayers for his son.
He prayed that Allah would grant Nathan Jannah the eternal paradise. He also asked for sabr.
Sabr is a complex concept of spiritual patience, endurance, and strength to survive this devastating grief.
He closed his tribute with the traditional Quranic phrase that signifies absolute acceptance of human mortality, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un,
meaning to God we belong and to Him we return.
It was a deeply moving public display of faith, bridging his massive cultural platform with an intimate, ancient grieving process.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next on Starscope Report.
As we step back and look at the broader societal context of this deep dive, we have to acknowledge the critical conversation this tragedy sparks within the creative community.
We are currently living in a renaissance of psychedelic exploration. In the music industry, in tech hubs, and in therapeutic settings, substances like psilocybin are frequently praised for their potential to unlock creativity, treat depression, and expand consciousness.
But this case strips away the romanticism and serves as a stark clinical warning. It highlights the extreme, unforgiving physical dangers of disorientation when these powerful chemical compounds are used in unmonitored or unsecure environments.
A substance may be completely natural, but if it fundamentally alters your spatial awareness, it can turn a mundane neighborhood walk into a profoundly lethal situation.
It is a heavy reminder that these elements demand intense respect and caution.
Which brings us to a final, broader concept to ponder. We are ultimately talking about the delicate, fragile line between creative exploration and perilous vulnerability. Think about the duality of Nathan Smith's life.
He spent a decade mastering the invisible physical waves of sound.
He studied the science of acoustics, he traveled the globe, and he used his immense technical talent to perfectly control the emotions and physical energy of massive crowds from behind a DJ booth. He was a master of his external environment.
Yet, in the end, it was an invisible internal chemical wave that bypassed all of that training and ultimately severed his tether to reality.
It challenges us to think deeply about how our modern society balances the desire to explore the outer limits of the human mind with the very real, inescapable physical vulnerabilities of the human body in an unforgiving physical environment.
It is a paradox that stays with you long after the music fades. You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.